Namaskara. Uh, Today we are going to talk to these people about their personal journeys through various languages. And as you know, Karnataka has, you know, and has many languages in, especially, you know, in the coastal districts. There is Konkani, there is Tulu, there is Bari, and in North Karnataka it's Marathi and Urdu, which is quite strong in those districts. And south of Karnataka is influenced by Telugu and Tamil. So there are lots of languages who have influenced writers, who have influenced creative people. So today we talk to these people with what is their personal journeys, and what is their engagement with various languages. And all of them, as myself, have grown up with multiple languages. So it is almost like so natural that we were sometimes even not aware that we were using more than one language. At least I was not aware in my childhood that I was using more than one language. It was so part of our psyche and consciousness. First of all, I would like to request Ismail to talk about Bari, which is a language which is predominantly spoken in South Kannada district and mainly by Muslims. And it has a very interesting journey, and especially in the last quarter century, which he's going to talk to you about, and how a language and a term which was almost used as in a derogatory term over a period of time has become a term of pride. And it has happened because of the engagement with the culture, with literature, and all those things. So let's hear it from Ismail. So Ismail, to start with, if you can give some background to about Bari language, when it started, some kind of history of it, and then we come to the journey a little later. And also your personal journey, because I think that's very important. Rather than talking little about this in a generic terms.
Okay. Thank you, Vivek. Let me start with a few words of my own identity, because Bari language is literally my mother tongue. Literally because my mother used to speak in Bari, whereas my father speaks Malayalam. And we children spoke to the parents their mother tongues actually. I used to speak my father with Malayalam at the same time. When I talk to my mother, I use Bari, or in Bari language it is identified as Nakkanik. Nakkanik means you and me actually. So that's the language. I really don't know this is a different language at all when in my childhood, because I born and brought up in a remote village in Malnad. This is the only Muslim family we were staying there, and I don't even have a Muslim friend or a Bari friend in my childhood all along till my high school. So we thought that it is a different, we never thought that it's a Bari itself a language. We thought it's it's another kind of Malayalam. It's another dialect of Malayalam. And we used to identify this is Umma Malayalam, Upana Malayalam. So that's what we thought that. So when I reached high school, then I realized, okay, this language has liberally bought so many words from Malayalam, but still it's not Malayalam. And then, later when I landed for a job in Bangalore, then I realized Bari itself a language, because the Baris, the community is called Bari, so they were speaking, there's a language called Bari. And then, by the time this language has become like, if somebody calls one person a Bari, so he took it an offensive actually. It's not, because we know that, my grandfather and others, all has got a surname as a Bari. Palli Bari or Mayabba, and all these kind of names were not there. We are all become Ismails and Mohiuddin. Mohiuddin Abba become Mohiuddin. All this was changed by the time. And why these people took offensive when somebody calls Bari? I really don't know that. But But actually, when it becomes an identity, is not because of Barry's in South Canara. Around 80% of Barry's are in South Canara now. But because of people who came for work in Bangalore, they started realizing this and then come up with a new identity called Barry. This is a language, this is a culture, and because for that, I think there is one reason, because all South Canadians, that's a big diaspora. When the Tulwas comes to Bangalore, they bought their Yakshagana and every other thing, but the Barrys, the Muslims, they don't have anything like that. Either not in Yakshagana, or when they go back to the Mangalore, they don't have a Bhuta there. So they have only one thing, that is their language. Otherwise, they will submerge in a larger identity called the Muslims. So the thing is that even in Bangalore, nobody in Bangalore Muslims consider as a Bari Muslim, they call it as the Malbaris. We become Malayalis in that way as well. So this is a very complicated identity even at home, or even when you come outside also, when you say I wrote the mother tongue in my daughter's school application. I wrote Barry, and that teacher asked me what is this language and all, and then I had to give her a big lecture about it, and then send a Wikipedia link of it and what we have created to send like this. So then, this is another language. And then said, is it a dialect of Tulu? And I said, it is not dialect of Tulu. It uses the Tulu grammar, but it's a different language. And then my daughter's auntie of the school, and it looks like Tamil. Yeah, it looks like Tamil, because when we call for the water, we call it Tanni. And there are so many Tamil words in it. So this is the language, this language is spoken, according to history. If I go by history, it is, the first masjid is built in Mangalore, which is the Zinat Baksh. It is around in 644 AD, because just after the death of Prophet 12 years. So that, that it also says some other thing about the Muslim connection between the whole Indian coast. It is different than the Mapla Malayalam. And it liberally bought so many words from Mapla Malayalam, but it uses the grammar of Tulu. And actually, Dr. P. Sushila Upadhyay had done a descriptive grammar of this language, which actually proves that it uses Tulu grammar, as well as it liberally bought so many words from Malayalam. And it is everybody thinks that only the Muslim speaks this, but it's not true. But there is a community called Moya. In Mangalore and surrounding area, they also speak they are Hindus, but they do, they are fishermen. That community also speaks this language. But the whole world thinks that this is Muslim. Even it is the identity is a Muslim Malayalam. It is not that so.
Even in Kannada literature, the reference to Barry is derogatory, because I think they were largely traders and also money lenders. And hence, they were also involved in collecting the debts. So they were a kind of people who were not liked, and especially for this reason. So even in Kannada literature, there are so many references which are very derogatory. And Barry was a term which was. So we'll come back to it little later, and how that what transformed. Ismail, before we get there, see what really inspired these people to have these Sahitya Sammelanas, because through the language they wanted to look at, and they wanted to gain a different identity. And how did this, what triggered this, and what happened?
In fact, it's very curious thing, because why they want this identity? Because this identity politics, in the 80s, identity politics in a way triggered this, but not only just that. Because the people who migrated to Bangalore and settled here, and they became really big businessmen. And then, you can see that in the Barry's developers all. So that they started using that Barry as being in Barry is to be proud. So that's where this started first. But after that, what happened, so in 1998, actually, the World Barry Convention happened in Bangalore. That is another interesting thing. After that, in that convention, many people went back to their their childhood memories, and they come back. We had some stories and folklore and many things. By the time the Sushilopadhyay's book has also came out, and it has narrated so many Barry folk stories and other things, and they suddenly realized that it is not just we have our own culture. We have so many things to identify with. And another interesting thing is that the normally Muslims, what happens, there is a Jamaat Islami followers, there is Salafi followers, there are so many other identities in between them. So once this linguistic identity, it is something which happened in Bangladesh, like with the Bengali language for the Muslims. So that kind of identity again. So yeah, we should identify with this, and then see this. Diasporic experiences can trigger this as well. So through that, when they all done that here in Bangalore, then some people in South Canada, which is one Muhammad Kulai, who's the famous Kannada writer, and also this Muhammad Ali, and all these people started an organization called Barry Sahitya Samskritika Vedike. Sahitya Sangha, Byasa Sam, they call it, like Nina Sam. So they came up with an idea of Barry Sahitya Sammelana. And the first Barry Sahitya Sammelana held in Bangalore in 1999. B. Dinabha, who's a Kannada writer and a MLA, who presided over it. From there it starts everything. So then in that Sammelana, actually the first request came for a Barry Sahitya Academy. By the time the Tulu has got a Sahitya Academy.
Literature in Barry language.
Barry language, literature in Barry language.
It started after that?
After that, it's 1999. So, yes, modern Barry literature, I don't know how, because now people are trying it, and it's the same case of Tulu and Konkani. It's not like Konkani, it's more like Tulu basically.
And mainly this is a dialect, which is how what we're going to talk today is Tulu again is a dialect, though there is literature in Tulu, but then it is there is no script to these languages. And there is some semblance of I think they used some script in the 14th century in some of the documents that were available, but really that language as such, it is not supported by a state. Both these languages, all the languages that in Karnataka, all the languages that we are talking today, Konkani, Tulu, as well as Barry, there was none of them were state languages in Karnataka. So there was really no state support in that sense, now or in the past. So that also has an impact in terms of its development in terms of literature. So let me turn to Usha. So we'll keep this bilingual. You can speak in Kannada or whichever language you are comfortable in. Tell us something about Tulu. The background. You can speak in English or Kannada, whatever you are comfortable with.
Tulu is a very old language, and it is spoken in the area of coastal Karnataka, means Udupi, Mangalore and Kundapur, Brahmavara, and it extends to Puttur also. But all this, it has a history of more than 2,000, 3,000 years old, but there is no dialect like Vivek said. But afterwards, in 14th century, all the writings on Vijayanagara Empire, they say there is a lipi. At that time it was called Tilagari lipi, and it is used, but it is somewhat like Malayalam only, because they say Malayalams, when they migrated to from Udupi, Brahmins, they took the lipi there and they developed there, but it was not used in.
There's some interesting reference that Tulu is used in one of the Greek plays, which is 2000 years ago.
Yeah, that is in 200 years.
It's not yet proved, but there is a lot of.
There is in the
some people are arguing for
there
that.
Is some language is referred there. It looks similar to Tulu, and in that one character speaks the language, and they think it is Tulu, but it is not yet proved. If it is proved, it goes back to
2000 years ago.
Yeah, beginning of this thing. So, but Tulu is a language. It's that writing is started very recently, because when I grew up, it was not in that much in this thing, because only a few people All the writers from South Canara, Konkanis, everybody, they are Tulu writers. From Raghava and this Muddanna, everybody, they were from Udupi and this thing. Even Govinda Pai, but he is the one who started, he developed some, he found out some Tulunada history, something. He wrote one book about first this thing, he wrote about that. But started writing is very late. I think it is in 1967, some Tulu Mahabharata or somebody from near Udupi. His name is, he wrote. Its name I forgot. He wrote Tulu Mahabharata by Aruna Jabba. That Aruna Jabba. He wrote Tulu Mahabharata, they say. Then he is near Udupi, Kodavuru. Then Sri Devi Mahatme in 1200 AD. And Tulu Bhagavato. And I think it is very lately they started writing in Tulu.
See, also this language in used by many people, it cuts across various class and caste.
Yeah.
In South Canara, and each one of them have their own unique way of using it.
That is, everybody
so
talks in different.
I mean, maybe if you have something to, if you have any
Konkanis
incidents
talk in a different way, Barys talk in a different way, Brahmins talk in a different way, and Puttur Tulu is different from Udupi Tulu. Because when I got married to my husband, I was really very, I didn't understand what he is talking, and their language is very bad because. Because in Udupi, we don't use bad language for some. Mostly we use katte, nai, like that use. But here it is different. Naida maga, sula maga, like that. That was, it was not able, I was not able to take it like that, their language. But I told him, don't talk to me in that language. I can't digest it. Like that it is. But there is, beauty of it is, there is one common Tulu. Talked by everyone. It is whoever steps into the road, we see everybody is talking in Tulu. Konkani.
So it is different on the road and different when you speak at home.
They talk very nicely. Vyavaharika Tulu like that. No? Very nice Tulu.
And Jains speak a different Tulu.
Yeah, everybody talks.
Because there are some pronunciations which are different.
Even this Brahmins take a different type of Tulu, and I speak a different type. Mine is Udupi side is very mild.
And husbands speak different type of Tulu.
Husbands, yeah. Husbands speak different type of Tulu. And afterwards, that Venkappa Shetty, fine, this is, he is my great grandfather also. From mother's side, his wife is related to me. He was a very promoter of Tulu. He wrote many books and all, and when Kedammadi Jattappare, everybody must have heard. He's a very good Tulu writer, and he started this thing, Bete Nenappugalu. That he wrote, and he got the Academy Award also, and that has come in our generation. But badly, I don't know. I didn't write in Tulu at that time when I was growing up. Tulu literature was not that developed, I think. But my father, who is the editor of Navayuga, he used to publish every month one Tulu Puravani, like so he promoted Tulu, and he promoted who were writing Tulu, Kayarakin and Rai and all. So like that it was, like that I used to know, but I never thought of it because we were talking Kannada.
What was the interaction? Andre ನೀವು ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ
ತುಳು ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರು, ಬರವಣಿಗೆ
ಈ ಎರಡು ಭಾಷೆಯ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಒಂದು ಸಂಬಂಧ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟಿವ್ ಸಂಬಂಧ, ಒಂದು ಸೃಜನಾತ್ಮಕವಾದ ಸಂಬಂಧ. ಅದು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಪ್ರಭಾವ ಆಯಿತು?
ಅದು ಬರೆಯುವ ಕನ್ನಡ ತುಳು ನನ್ನ ಮೇಲೆ ಏನು ಪ್ರಭಾವ ಬೀಳಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಯಾಕೆ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ ಆಗ ತುಳು ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳು ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಕೆಲವನ್ನು ನನ್ನ ತಂದೆ ಅಚ್ಚು ಹಾಕಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು.
ಅಲ್ಲ, ಕೆಲವು ನುಡಿಗಟ್ಟುಗಳು, ಮಾತುಗಳು,
ಹಾಗೆ ಕೆಲವು ಗಾದೆಗಳು, ಒಗಟುಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಇರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದವು. ಆ ಗಾದೆಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿದರೆ ಕೆಲವು ಸಲ ತುಂಬ ಇದಿದೆ. ಅದು ಕೆಲವು ಈಗ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲೂ ಇದೆ ಆ ಗಾದೆಗಳು. ಆದರೆ ಉರ್ಚರೆ ಬಣ್ಣಗ ಬಿತ್ತಲ್ ನಾಡೊಂದು ಪೋಯವಣ್ಣ, ವೆನ್ ಹಿ ವಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಟು ದಿಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಟಾಯ್ಲೆಟ್, then at that time they were searching for the place, because at that time there was no toilets. They have to go somewhere to do that. Like that so many are there. Mandedu kulludu bayi gurchi means somebody who so much lenience is given, he will sit on your head and like that some Tulu sayings are there. But that N.S. Kille was the very good Arthadari, and he was speaking very nice Tulu, and he used to come home. So like that I used to hear, but I never thought of writing in Tulu. Then after I started writing in Tulu, then this all the academies, Tulu, like after coming to the Bangalore, Tulu Kuta, Tulu Erenkulu, so many started. Like that, getting involved into that, we developed, oh yes, we have to write in Tulu and all.
Yeah, it's also a very interesting journey within, if you look at the last 50 years in Karnataka, both these languages, Bari as well as Tulu, from a point where it was, almost people were hesitant to say they were, Baris, they were Tuluas. From there, today we have a Tulu Academy in Karnataka, we have a Bari Academy in Karnataka. So it has become really, a term of pride. So that journey, I think, is quite interesting. Let me turn to Jayant, and this is going to be a slightly different conversation, because Jayant doesn't write in Konkani, though his mother tongue is Konkani, like me. And but he has grown up with different languages. And his father, a well-known writer and a great scholar, Gaurish Kaikini, wrote in several languages, 3 or 4, 3 languages at least. And he has published books in 3 languages. And Jayant grew up in a truly multilingual home. And Jayant, what are some of the childhood memories of growing up with different languages?
I come from a place called Gokarna. Gokarna, first of all, was full of, Havyaka speaking people, then Konkani speaking people, and it was a pilgrim center. Tourist buses used to come, and because it was a temple town, we had regular tourists coming from Maharashtra. So even at our home, we had guests who spoke Marathi, and so many kind of things. So when you grow up in a place which is a pilgrim center, naturally you are exposed to so many languages. And we belonged to Maharashtra earlier, before that Bombay, Karnataka. Before that linguistic states were formed, North Karnataka part, we belonged to Bombay, Karnataka. So we used to listen to Akashvani, Sangli, Miraj. And Dharwad was not coming only. Actually, Dharwad was the nearest, but we could not tune in. So it was like a metaphor, we could tune to the Marathi, Marathi sadhu, sons come and kirtan. So we had grown up with Marathi, Konkani, so many things. And we are very near to Goa. See, Konkanis, we are like a nomads. We have come from, some say we came from Kashmir, some say we came from Calcutta. We were in Dwarka, that is Gujarat. That's why they are called as Dwarke. Konkanis are called as Dwarke because they are from Dwarka. From there they came to Goa. And in Goa, due to the operation by Portuguese invasion, they started, they feared conversion. So they came running down south. And there is a novel by Gopal Krishna Pai called Swapna Saraswata, which talks about this exodus of Konkanis from Goa downstairs. It was very interesting. They came running, those Konkanis, to protect their gods. Actually, God should have protected them. They held the idols to their chest, left everything, and overnight they came running down to Karwar, from Karwar to Honnavar to Kumta, like that they went. So wherever, say, Goa was the Konkani dominant place. There Konkani was a language of communication, literature, art, and everything. But when they became nomads, like they came to Karnataka, Konkani became a domestic language. They spoke Konkani only at home. We all like that, because for outside it's all Kannada. So it was so seamless. it never felt that this is something. So much so, when children are small, parents, we talk Konkani at home. But sometimes you have to talk some secrets, no? I think he wants to go for play. Let him not go to play today. Let him study. This they will talk in Kannada. But we know Kannada also. ಅವನು ಇವತ್ತು ಆಟ ಆಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಂತ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ, ನಾಳೆ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಉಂಟು, ಅವನಿಗೆ ಕಳಿಸೋದು ಬೇಡ ಅಂತ. ಅರೆ ಕನ್ನಡನೂ ಬರ್ತಿತ್ತು ನಮಗೆ. So that kind of a domestic space Konkani was having. Even in school gatherings, Kannada plays used to be there, Kannada debate was to be there. But if there is a Konkani play, it was different. People will laugh for everything. Because it was like, your domestic, something which is domestic was being sanctified in public. So they enjoyed it, like even serious sentences people will laugh. They were enjoying. That happened, this Agni Mattu Male, Girish Karnad's play. Recently I saw a Konkani version of it here in Chaudaya. In one scene there is a dialogue, he says that Rishi says, I did tapasya in forest, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಡು ಮೃಗಗಳು, ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳು, ಕ್ರಿಮಿ ಕೀಟಗಳು ಎಲ್ಲ ತೊಂದರೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟವು, ಅಂದರೆ ಆಲ್ ಅನಿಮಲ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ ದೀಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್. In Konkani what happened is, he says thing, mast vaga, simha, ani zalara, he said. Zalara means mosquitoes. Everybody laughed. See, krimi kita is different, zalar, mosquito is different. Moment he said zalara, the entire thing became domestic humor. The serious dialogue became a humorous dialogue. See, that domestic language becoming a, so that was very interesting for us. So, we never felt like writing in Konkani. So, it never happened. I mean, even if you go to, the situation is there, Konkani academies are there, they phone, Are Bapre, we have to give award every year, there are no books. Kalepuni Bare, Maraya, Kalepuni Bare. You have made academies, but nobody is writing in those languages. So, that kind of an identity, Konkani, and Konkani, as you said, it changes every 20-30 kilometers, the language changes. For example, in our side, Aili means Banlu anta. He came. Vivek came, Vivek Aila or Anu Aili. But if you go to Ratnagiri side, they call it as Ili. Ili. So my mother had a great problem. My mother was quite an ambitious lady, and she was a town panchayat chairman in Gokarna and all that. We had gone to Karwar to a relative's place. So when they saw my mother, her name was Shanta, she was called as Shanta Bai. So they were telling that she has come. So she was telling Shanta Bai Ili, Shanta Bai Ili. Ili means rat in Kannada. My mother was feeling very furious. She thought that they were making fun of her. So, see, these kind of same words, they kept on changing. If you go to South Kendra, Nimmurige hodre, more Kannada in Konkani actually. More than North Kendra, South Kendradalli tumba Kannada undu. So, and if you go to Malayalam, Konkani is like Malayali, you can't understand. It is that bad, I mean, it is so strange. So, the nomads, wherever they go, they learn the skill of whatever is required for survival. So, I think that element has kept Konkani was a domestic language. That's what I felt. That's why I never felt like writing in Konkani.
And also, I think there was, as you rightly said, there was not much literature. I mean, I remember there's only one magazine called Panchkadai, which was something to do with some temple and this and that. Other than that, I haven't seen anything in print. Yeah. And then Konkani uses 4 different scripts. They use Devanagari, they use Roman. In Karnataka, Kannada is used, and in Malayalam is used in Kerala. So, but interestingly, none of them can understand. If they can read out their poem, none of them can read each other. So if they read out their poem, the other person will understand, but they can't read each other. So it's a very peculiar situation. Jayant's books have been translated into Konkani. My book has been translated to Konkani, but I can only give it to the people to whom, in which language or which script it is written into. So it's a very interesting, very peculiar situation. And Jayant, when you in what way has this impacted your creative process? Because, like you, Yashwant Chittal, Nadkarni, Girish Karnad, all of us use Kannada for, writing. But there is a lot of Konkaniness in it. And how do you see this, relationship between the two?
I think it's all about the sensibility. I mean, like language is something it is not just transferring things. Language is a mode of thought. Language per se is a mode of thought. It has tonality, it has special idioms. Like Amsani. Amsani means huli. Amsani means people who are very arrogant. We call them as Amsani because pitta keredudu antaralla. Yes, Amsani. Huli jasti. So certain words have come from there. But because always I feel language is like it is again a tool to get contextualized only to get decontextualized. See, it's like a learning cycle, while learning bike, somebody has to hold you. But he can't hold you long enough. If he holds long enough, you can't learn at all. So there is a moment he wants him to let you go. Same way, a writer, in his pursuit, he uses language like that. He holds it, then at the same time, he wants to outgrow that language itself. So since writing is that kind of a thing, this, whether, because many people thinking in a language, but I never felt that I have a thinking language. It happens only while writing. My thought process doesn't have a language. Many people tell, no, like I think in English or I talk in Kannada or I think, I don't think I can, put myself in that kind of a thing. So our characters may be, like you said, Yashwant Chittal, his characters are Konkani. Even most of your characters. So even when I'm reading in Kannada, they are sounding to me in Konkani. Like Swapna Saraswata is a novel in Kannada, but I hear it in Konkani because I know Konkani. So how does it sound to the non-Konkani reader is very curious to me. I mean, so it's very interesting. I mean, but even in my writings, many characters come who are not Kannadigas, who are not even Konkani, like they are Gujaratis, Punjabis. It has not become a very big thing to me. But there was a problem because I want to ask you that question. I have a problem when dialogues come into the story or a novel. Because dialogue means it's a spoken, it's a talk. So there I have a problem. I don't know how to deal with it. Somehow I have managed it till now. But how do you deal with it when your Konkani characters or non-Kannada characters are conversing in your context, in your literary context? I am very curious.
So, it is because, as you said, thinking, there is no, when you do creative writing, there is no thinking as such. Because if you think and write, then there is no joy of writing any fiction. The joy comes, and the real, the creativity, as according to me, is when you put a word, the next word just happens. You write a sentence, the next word must flow, the next sentence must flow. And that happens because you have a very deep relationship with the language. And that is so deep that you don't think, it just flows. So for me, for example, it happens with Kannada as for Jayant, which is why I can't write in English. Because the moment I start writing in English, I have to think. And I'm just outside. It's not my space. Right? Maybe I can write non-fiction in English, but I could never write fiction in English. So similar thing happens when you come to writing dialogues. It is, the whole story is conceived in some way, which is, for me, is Kannada. So the dialogues happen, though it happens somewhere in our subconscious level in Konkani, but, our people who speak English many times in our stories, they are English speaking people, but they, of course, speak Kannada in my stories. I think that is where the transformation or the connect with the unsaid happens. So it is really not the language, but something more than the language is what I feel. Coming back to you, Ismail, can you read out something in Barry, or you're going to show it?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, if you can give some context to this, because the person whom you are going to show is a poet, right?
He's a
Yeah.
poet. Yeah, person who I'm going to show is a poet, and this poetry is all about. It's the message of the poem is that women makes a man's world which man would never able to appreciate entirely, because he recites the poem is so passionately, and actually he sings and he gives you an instant Kannada translation as well.
Okay.
So I'm feeling bad that he's not given an English translation. So because I think translating into English is very difficult, because this languages like Bari, Tulu or Konkani or any of this language, this has the tonality of the language is very important. The same words, if you translate those words, you miss that tonality. So I tried reciting it, but finally I failed. So I thought it's showing on the video is the better. So can you play that video? His name is Muhammad Ali. He is one of the famous poets because he.
ನನ್ನ ಕವಿತೆಯ ಹೆಸರು ಪೆಣ್ಣು ನಂಗಲೆಲ್ಲಾರೋ ಕಣ್ಣು, ಹೆಣ್ಣು ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಕಣ್ಣು. ಕಿಡಾವು ಕೇಳುಂಬೋ ಉಮ್ಮ ಪಾಡ್ರಾಲು, ಬಂಗಾರ ಗೆಜ್ಜೆ ಕೆಟ್ಟಿಡ ಚೆಲ್ಡಾಲು, അടുത്തന്നീ വെച്ചിട് ബേപ്പാട്ടോ ഗരിയില്ല നൊമ്പൽത്തോ മുലങ്ങിട്ട് ഉമ്മ, സന്തോല തണ്ടാല് ഉമ്മ, മുലപ്പാല് തന്നിട്ട് ഉമ്മ, പട്ടീനെ തെച്ചിട്ട് ഉമ്മ, മുലപ്പാല് തണ്ടാല് ഉമ്മ. ഈ ഉമ്മ പെണ്ണല്ലേ, ഞങ്ങളെല്ലാരോ കണ്ണല്ലേ, ഈ അമ്മ ಹೆಣ್ಣಲ್ಲವೇ, നമ്മെല്ലರ കണ്ണಲ್ಲವೇ. കാക്കാണ്ട് പിടിച്ചിട്ട് ഓടോടി ಬಂಡಾಲು, ಅಂಗಲೆಡೋ ನೋಕೋಗು ಅಪ್ಪಪ್ಪ ಬಂಡಾಲು, ಅಣ್ಣಂತ ಕರೆಯುತ್ತ ಓಡೋಡಿ ಬರ್ತಾಳೆ, ಸಹೋದರನ ನೋಡಲು ಆಗಾಗ ಬರ್ತಾಳೆ, ಪಿರ್ಸತ್ತೋ ರಾಶಿರೋ ನಮಗೂ ತಂಡಾಲು. ಈ ಪೆಂಗಾಲು ಪೆಣ್ಣಲ್ಲೇ, ನಂಗಲೆಲ್ಲಾರೋ ಕಣ್ಣಲ್ಲೇ, ಈ ತಂಗಿಯು ಹೆಣ್ಣಲ್ಲವೇ, നമ്മെല്ലರ കണ്ണല്ലവേ. ഔത്തൂരോ കഷ്ടത്തോ കൽബൂലെ വെച്ചിട്ട് ഇസ്സത്ത് ഗായിട്ട് റാം പോലും സ്വന്തിട്ട്, ഔത്തൂരോ കഷ്ടത്തോ കൽബൂലെ വെച്ചിട്ട് ഇസ്സത്ത് ഗായിട്ട് റാം പോലും സ്വന്തിട്ട്, കൊസിರೋ കടലൂരോ നങ്ങಗೂ ചൊരിക്കൂರೋ, ഈ പെഞ്ഞായി പെണ്ണല്ലേ, ഞങ്ങളെല്ലാರೋ ಕಣ್ಣಲ್ಲೇ, ಈ ಪತ್ನಿಯು ಹೆಣ್ಣಲ್ಲವೇ, നമ്മെല്ലರ ಕಣ್ಣಲ್ಲವೇ. കാശി ബംഗാർ കൊരടി ക്വാനാല് ചെന്നിട്ട് ಬನ್ನೋ ಮರ್ಮೋಲೂಗು ಅಡ್ಚಿಟ್ಟು ಕುತ್ತಿಟ್ಟು, ವರದಕ್ಷಿಣೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ತಂದಾಳು ಎನ್ನುತ್ತ ಬಂದ ಸೊಸೆಗೆ ಹೊಡೆಯುತ್ತ ಬಡಿಯುತ್ತ. ಕಾಶಿ ಬಂಗಾರ್ ಕೊರಡಿ ಕ್ವಾನಾಲು ಚೆನ್ನಿಟ್ಟು ಬನ್ನೋ ಮರ್ಮೋಲೂಗು ಅಡ್ಚಿಟ್ಟು ಕುತ್ತಿಟ್ಟು, ಕೊನ್ನೋದು ಕಂಡಿಲ್ಲೇ, കേക്കോകു ആരില്ലേ. അമ്മായി നീനും പെണ്ണല്ലേ, നിന്റെ മർമോലും പെണ്ണല്ലേ, അത്തേ നീനു ಹೆಣ್ಣಲ್ಲವೇ, ನಿನ್ನ ಸೊಸೆಯೂ ಹೆಣ್ಣಲ್ಲವೇ. കർപ്പുഞ്ചി പെണ്ണൊർത്തി സ്കാനിങ് ആക്കിട്ട്, കർപ്പുഞ്ചി പെണ്ണൊർത്തി സ്കാനിങ് ആക്കിട്ട്, ബാറ്ററോ കിടാവു പെണ്ണിട്ട് തിരിഞ്ഞിട്ട് കർപ്പ എടുത്തില്ലേ, കിടാവുറോ കൊന്നില്ലേ. കർപ്പുഞ്ചി നീനും പെണ്ണല്ലേ, നീ കൊന്നോതും പെണ്ണല്ലേ, ಗರ್ಭಿಣಿ ನೀನು ಹೆಣ್ಣಲ್ಲವೇ, ನೀ ಕೊಂದದ್ದು ಹೆಣ್ಣಲ್ಲವೇ. ಉಮ್ಮ ನಿಂದೋ ಕಣ್ಣು ಪಿഞ്ഞೆയും ಕಣ್ಣು, ಅಮ್ಮನು ನಿನ್ ಕಣ್ಣು ಪತ್ನಿಯು ಕಣ್ಣು, ಮೋಲುಂ ನಿಂದೋ ಕಣ್ಣು ಮರುಮೋಲುಂ ಕಣ್ಣು, ಮಗಳು ನಿನ್ ಕಣ್ಣು ಸೊಸೆಯೂ ಕಣ್ಣು. ನಿಕ್ಕಿದು ಕಾಂಡಿಲ್ಲೇ, ആണ് നിക്ക് കണ്ണില്ലേ, മുണ്ടാണ്ട് തെച്ചിടല്ലേ, ആണ് നീന് ആണല്ലേ. ನಿನಗಿದು ಕಾಣಲ್ಲವೇ ಹೆಣ್ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಶೋಷಣೆ, ನಿನಗಿದು ಕಾಣಲ್ಲವೇ ಗಂಡೇ ನಿನಗೆ ಕಣ್ಣಿಲ್ಲವೇ. ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಕೂತಿಲ್ಲವೇ ಗಂಡೇ ನೀನು ಗಂಡಲ್ಲವೇ. ಕಿಡಾವು ಕೇಳುಂಬೋ ಉಮ್ಮ ಪಾಡ್ರಾಲು, ಬಂಗಾರೋ ಗೆಜ್ಜೆ ಕೆಟ್ಟಿಡ ಚೆಲ್ಲಾಲು, അടുത്തന്നീ വെച്ചിട് ബേപ്പാട്ടോ കറിയില്ല നൊമ്പൽത്തോ മുലങ്ങിട്ട് ഉമ്മ, ಸಂದೋಲ ತಂಡಾಲು ಉಮ್ಮ. ನೋವನ್ನು ನುಂಗುತ್ತ ಅಮ್ಮ, ಸುಖವನ್ನು ಕೊಡುತ್ತಾಳೆ ಅಮ್ಮ, ಪಟ್ಟಿನೇ ತೆಚ್ಚಿಟ್ಟು ಉಮ್ಮ, ಮೊಲೆಪಾಲು ತಂಡಾಲು ಉಮ್ಮ. ಹಸಿವನ್ನು ಸಹಿಸುತ್ತ ಅಮ್ಮ, ಎದೆ ಹಾಲು ಕೊಡುತ್ತಾಳೆ ಅಮ್ಮ. ಈ ಉಮ್ಮ ಪೆಣ್ಣಲ್ಲೇ, ഞങ്ങളെല്ലാരോ കണ്ണല്ലേ ഈ ഉമ്മ പെണ്ണല്ലേ ഞങ്ങളെല്ലാരോ ಕಣ್ಣಲ್ಲೇ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.
ಉಷಾ, ನೀವು ನಾವು ನಿನ್ನೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಪಾಠದನಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಓದ್ತೀರಾ ಅದನ್ನು? 2 ನಿಮಿಷ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿ, ಆಮೇಲೆ
I forgot to tell about folklore in Tulu. It was the very long back. It started, I think, more than centuries, 3,000 years back. That came from, it was folklore only. The people who were in the farms, they used to sing, or in the evenings they used to sit and sing like that. There are so many folklores in Kannada, Tulu, but Amrit Someshwar has collected some 16 folklores. In that I am narrating some lines about Siri. Siri is they say she is the first Strivadi, what is the feminist. She is the first feminist. That is long back she has done it. So I was thinking I should say few lines about that.
And Pardana are the songs which, mainly the folk
songs. They
songs,
used to sing while they were
working and in the fields
fields, and or in the evenings they sit and do like that. So many folk, and even that is Yakshagana, Bailat, all those were Tulu this thing. Now they are reviving it. It was going back, they were forgetting it, but so many people, Vivek Rai, like that, they do some research and they are trying to revive it. This Siri is a daughter of one. He didn't have children, so he became very old. Then one day he was thinking, nobody is there after me to look after this my dynasty and all. Then one day he was about to die. Then one person comes and that gives him something. In that she is born in this veeladale, what it is called, betel nut. They give something, this with kumkuma and turmeric, and she becomes baby girl, and he brings her up, and she was very this thing, and she grows up and everything, and she grows up in a very nothing to, she doesn't have to worry for anything, everything was rich and everything, and they wanted to get her married. They get married, and afterwards she becomes pregnant. At that time she becomes pregnant. They wanted to make that Srimanta, that 7th month they make, no. Then that Siri, they all prepare that is a big function in Tuluas. Srimanta is a big function in Tuluas. So they prepare for that function. So then his mother tells his son, his mother-in-law tells his son to bring some cloth and this thing. That I want to so they you want me to read in Kannada translation? No, I can
ತುಳು.
because
ಇಲ್ಲ
Kannada is there
ಇಲ್ಲ ನೀವು
translation.
ತುಳುನಲ್ಲೇ ಓದಿ ಸಾಕು.
Okay.
ಅದು ಭಾಷೆ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಕೇಳಿಸುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ.
That she tells his son to bring, mother tells the Kantapunja, her husband, she tells, Jevulla Mallige, Jevulla Kedai, Kondu Bariyare Poperu. After that he goes to the shop and to bring that. Tendulla Mallige, Jevulla Kedai, Kondu Barre Poperu. ಮುನ್ನಿಡು ಸಾವಿರ ವರನು ಕಟ್ಟೊಂದು ಪೋಪೇರು ಏರಿಯೇ ಅಪ್ಪೆರೆ ಯಾನಗಳಿಗೆ ಸಮಯೋಡು ನಿಮಿಷ ಪೊರ್ತುಡು ಬರ್ಪೆಯೇ ಅಪ್ಪೆರೆ. ಐಲ್ ಗೋ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕಮ್, ಹಿ ವಿಲ್ ಟೆಲ್ ದಟ್ ಸನ್. ಸೊ ಜತ್ತು ಪಿದಡೊಂದು ಪೋಪೇರು ಪದಂಗಾಡಿ ಪೇಟೆಗೆ ಬತ್ತೇರು ಅಜಿಪ್ಪ ಮರಣದ ಅಜಿಪ್ಪ ಬರಗೆದ ಪಟ್ಟೆ ಸೀರೆ ದೆತ್ತೇರು ಪಟ್ಟದ ರವಕ್ಕೆ ದೆತ್ತೊಂಡೇರು ಚೆಂಡುಲ್ಲ ಮಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಜೇವುಲ್ಲ ಕೇದಾಯಿ ದೆತ್ತೊಂದು ಬರುವೇರು. ನೋ, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ every description of any function or anything, they describe here. That's why it is long part than us. When they die also, what to do, everything they describe here. So he goes and gets the sari and all. He comes. While coming, on the way, one woman, Sule, what is it called in English?
A prostitute.
Prostitute. She sees him and she calls him. But he says, ಚೆಂಡುಲ್ಲ ಮಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಜೇವುಲ್ಲ ಕೇದ ಇದೆತ್ತೊಂದು ಬರುವೇರು ಕೊಂಡುದು ಬಣ್ಣಾಗ ತೂಪಾಲು ಪದಂಗಾಡಿದ ಇಲ್ಲ ಮೂಡಾಯಿ ಬಾಕಿಲ್ಡು ಮಿತ್ತಡ್ಯ ಕೈ ಕೊರ್ದು ತೀರ್ಥಡ್ಯ ಕಾರ್ ಕೊರ್ದು ಉಂತುದ್ದು ತೂಪಾಲು ಪದಂಗಾಡಿ ಸೂಳೆಡ ಸಿದ್ದು ಬಾಲೆಕಾಂತು ಪೂಂಜೇರು ಬರ್ಪಿ ಪೊರ್ಲುನ್ನು ದೂರೋಗುಪ್ಪಗ ತೂತಾಲು ಪದಂಗಾಡಿ ಸೂಳೆಸಿದ್ದು ಕಣ್ಣೊಂಜಿ ಸನ್ನೇಡು ಕೈಯೊಂಜಿ ಬಾಸೇಡು ಲೆಪ್ಪೋಲ್. This is description is like that, very long descriptions. Like that she comes and she wears that sari. She says it's for wife, but she doesn't allow. She wears that sari. Then that husband comes home and gives the sari to the wife. But she refuses. She says, I can't wear that sari because it is worn by her. Because how she knows means that all the nice foldings were gone. So she is getting angry. She goes back to I can't wear that sari. I have so many saris in my father's house. I'll wear that and go. Sorry. When she wants to wear, she tells, ಬಸರೂರ ಬತ್ತಕೇರಿದ ಅರಮನೆಡು ಸಂಕಾರು ಪೂಂಜೇದಿ ಅವ್ವಂಜಿ ಸಮಯಡು ಸತ್ಯಮಾಲೋಕದ ಬಾಲಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿರಿ ಪಣ್ಪೇರು ಎರಿಯೇ ಮಾಮಿನಾರೆ ಈರ್ಕೇಂಡರ ಇರಡ ಮಗೆ ಎನಡ ಅನ್ಯಪುಣ್ಯದ ಮದಿಮಾಯೆ ಎಂಕು ಕೊಣದು ಬೈದಿನ ಚೆಂಡುಲ್ಲ ಮಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಜೇವುಲ್ಲ ಕೇದಾಗೆ ಪಟ್ಟೆದ ಸೀರೆ ರವಕ್ಕೆ ಅತ್ತಿಯೇ ಮಾಮಿನಾರೆ ಅವು ಪದಂಗಡಿ ಪೇಂಟೆದ ಸೂಳೆ ಸಿದ್ದುಗು ಕೊಂಡು ಬತ್ತಿ ಸೀರೆ ರವಕ್ಕೆ ಅಪಗ ಪಣ್ಪೇರು ಸಂಕಾರು ಪೂಜೆಂದಿ ಏರು ಮಗ ಬಾಲಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿರಿಯೇ ಈ ಪತ್ತಿನ ಚಲ ಪತ್ತಡ ಮಗ. Mother-in-law tries to console her, but she says, no, I can't wear that. So she goes back and has baby, and but that baby was born in a bad star. So whenever that father sees the baby, he will die. So one day that father dies. Suddenly he sees the baby and he dies. For that also he gives a good description what to do after the death, how to cremate and all. But on the third day, she gets a call from her husband.
ಅದನ್ನ ಕೊನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಭಾಗ ಓದ್ಬಿಡಿ. ಸೊ ಈಗ ಟೈಮ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ.
ಅದೇ I'll say what she says and goes. Left it, I forgot. She says, I can't stay with this husband. He doesn't come. Then she gives a challenge to her husband. ಇರನ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅರಮನೆಡು ಮುಕ್ಕಾಲು ಮೂಜಿ ಗಳಿಗೆ ಉಂತಾಯ ಪಂಡೇರು ಎಂಕ್ ಅರಿ ಏ ಬನ್ನಾಕುಲನ ಬರ ಪಂಡ್ಲೆ ಪುತ್ರ ಬನ್ನಾಕುಲನ ಪುಂಡಿ ಸರಗಿಡು ಬುಡ್ಲೆ ಈರ್ಲ ಯಾನಲ ಒಪ್ಪ ತಪ್ಪದನ ದುಂಬುಗು ನಿರೆವುಡುಂದು ಆಂಡ ಈರು ಕಂಟೆಲ್ಗೆ ನಾಯಾರು ಪುಗೆಲಿಗೆ ನುಗ ಕಟ್ಟೊಂದು ಎನ್ನ ಕಾರಡಿಕ್ ಬತ್ತಾರ ಆನೆಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಒಪ್ಪ ತಪ್ಪ ನಿರವೆಂದು ಪಂಡೇರು. He wants her to come to beg her. She has to what I can't explain. Nuga. She has to, like when they plow this thing,
Yeah, it's very interesting because in what you read and also in general in if you read these translations, like I can't read Tulu, but I have read some of the translations into Kannada, that the metaphors that are used and
Yeah,
some
but-
of the expressions that are there, so fresh when it comes to fresh for us, because we have not come across such things. Like recently I read a novel which was of course written some 15 years ago, which is about the effort of a person to divert a river, and the novel is just about this, and how what kind of efforts he puts in, because he is a person who is who wants to take up challenges, and he takes up a challenge to divert a river, and it is really on one level it looks very funny and but it's also very philosophical, because that challenge and the fight with the nature and his failure is very interesting in the whole in the novel. Jayant, we were talking about literature and the culture and the kind of other things which are around that food or the other aspects of it. Can you say something about it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think always the migrating nomadic kind of people, the best moment is there, the dinner time or lunch time where you are at home. Even when you are economically highly challenged, you eat at home only. So eating and sharing a meal at home is a big virtue. So a lot of attention given to the food. So that's why I was always, last 50 years, as he was telling now, suddenly this Tulu Utsava, Karavali Utsava, or Konkani Utsava. Main thing is food there. Kane menu and this and all food, food items come first. So that's because I think the food was the thing which they cling. That's what I always.
And
feel.
also something which we talked about a while ago is at least in our childhood, the very rich people ate the same food as very poor people. It was there was not much of a difference in food, at least, which of course is now changing.
That's what it is. Right.
We'll open up for questions if there are any.
Usha madam, hi. Ite tulot mast movie barondondo. Aik dada panu. Does it help? Does it help to promote the culture? It is coming as a mass media. Yeah, it's really.
Movies are really helping to promote Tulu. Everything, whichever comes in Tulu is promoting Tulu language. Because so many, we are fighting for in the 8th schedule to everything, but nothing is happening because since long it is not given recognition, even in Vijayanagara Empire or afterwards, even now. But Tulu, nowadays you can see, if you open YouTube, there are so many people talking Tulu. There are so many jokes about Tulu like that. It is really promoting, because even we were not aware of all those things when we were small.
Yeah, there was an excellent film recently which won a national award called Paddai, which was made in Tulu. It's based on, not based, but loosely based on Macbeth. A very interesting film.
Kaikini ma'am, आमची वेळेला दाडीते विषय उलयनी आजी.
That's my
Yes, sorry. Yeah, after him.
Yeah, though I'm born and brought up in Bangalore, I spent 4 years in Surathkal, so I can appreciate all the.
Can't hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll be just loud enough. I just heard that these languages may have history of over 2,000 years, which may mean that the links with Malayalam may be new, because Malayalam itself is not so old. So I'm just curious if these have some origins in our Hadaganada, because some words are very close to Hadaganada. So I just want your comments on the links with Hadaganada with all these three languages, or especially Tulu and Konkani.
Now, Tulu is certainly, they say it is about 2,000 year old, and they say that it is both have a Dravidian origin, because it's around that time that these languages broke away from each other around 2300 years ago, and it is possible that Tulu also broke away from the roots and developed itself into this. But however, there is no clear written history for this, unlike in other languages like Kannada or because they at least Tulu has no distinct script that was developed, and all of them have come from Brahmi, I mean, as you know. So sorry, yeah.
Okay, I'll just speak loud. I think it's a derivative of what Mr. Shanbhag and Mr. Rai also saying. You talked about state support not being there, like just some time back. My question is on that. Why is that case? Why isn't there? I mean, given I'm guessing there are, in terms of a population size for Tulu, for all these languages, there should be significant numbers, right? So why isn't there some kind of a state support in promoting it or in preserving it? In a sense, you talked about academies. I'm guessing all these academies are private initiatives.
Yeah, I don't mean, when I say state support, I don't mean in the current state. Of course, in last 50 years, there have been state support. What I mean is in the history, there have been very few kingdoms where, Tulu was a language of the state. Right, there were small little things, in the past, like, there is some stories of Koti Chennaya fighting this and fighting for Tulu Nadu and all that. But then it is still, unlike Kannada, which was spoken by, so many kings, and even giants used Kannada. I mean, all through the history, you can see that. So when I compare to this, there was very little very little state support in historic sense for Barry as well as this. In fact, Barry, there is some very interesting statistics. In I think in 1500 or 1600, when the census was made, in Mangalore, almost 97% of people were Barry traders. Traders were all Barrys. And the term, one of the arguments is that the Barry term came because, Byara, which means trading. So from there the term came. So yeah. Yeah.
I was
South, because the Christian Barrys and Tulus are lived very cooperatively. Because for a small example, this Mallige is grown by Christians and traded by Barrys, and it goes to the temples and Hindu women. So it was like that, very cordial relationship was there. That's Tulu, though different from each other's language, it was in the base level, the communicate level, it was very nicely. Even in Jains, they have some differences. For Tare, they say Sare, like that. It sounds different, but...
And one point I wanted to add. See, when a language is used for thinking, exploring new thought, creating new knowledge, then it, I think, survives. So the Konkani didn't do that for a long time. There was no, so that's why it remained just as a domestic language. So now it is coming, people are writing, because one of my Kannada poem was translated into Konkani. Moment it was not by me, by a friend, that Melvin did it. It sounded different. Of course, it was the same poem, but when it came into another language, the focal points, stress, resonance, everything became different. So that was also something very interesting to me. Like you were telling your story, when you read in Konkani, it was a confused this thing, yeah. So I think Konkani or any language should be a mode of thought for the practitioners, and then that language will open new windows. That's what I feel.
Yeah. I think it's the last question.
Thank you very much for this wonderful session. It's set so many things rolling. Now, I wanted to ask you, because I was just thinking about Biari, as you said, and Urdu as well, and Konkani, I think. They are all languages that kind of shaped through travel, migration. In some ways, they are not languages of fixed people who were fixed in time in some place. But in India, I think the way we thought about language, at least at the dawn of independence and immediately before, was associating languages with territories, and that's why we really have the linguistic states. Now, how do you think this is affected? Because it's wonderful to see how many cusp cultures Karnataka has. And when I'm thinking of my own state, Kerala, yes, I remember in my own family we had Tamil and Malayalam where, it was very hard to distinguish between Tamil and Malayalam because the sacred language was Tamil. So you read the Halasyam, Mahatmyam at home, but then you didn't really make all those distinctions. And my grandparents could never make.
This is a kind of, minority mentality. I don't know what it is. Like me and Jayant, we hardly, other than in public platforms, we always speak in Konkani. Like I always speak in Konkani with Girish Karnad. If you meet two Konkanis, they are bound to speak in Konkani. There is something that happens, right? I have seen this with some languages, not with all languages. And Ismail was telling me that now it's happening with Malayalam as well. People were, not very comfortable in speaking in Malayalam when they meet another Malayali. People tend to speak in English or whatever language. So the point I was making is that in what kind of connection that you have with the language and that identity. So when you say state, linguistic states, it's a very difficult line to draw, because it's a you draw a line and see what's happening in Belgaum and what's happening in Kasaragod. Really, half of the people in Belgaum, they're truly Marathis. They speak Marathi, and even Kannadiga speak Marathi there. It's very difficult to draw a line, but then for political reasons, for whatever reasons, we need to accept it. Similar thing, if you go to Kasaragod, it's all fully Kannada, but then it's in Kerala. See, then there has to be something has to happen between these states so that they support these diversities, right? Like, it is a responsibility of Karnataka to make sure that they support the Marathi schools in the border areas, which are part of Karnataka. Similar thing must happen in Kasaragod as well. But it was happening till recently, and I think in the last 20-25 years there has been, because of a lot of other linguistic politics, that is going away, which I think is not good. And you can see that it reflects in a number of translators who are coming in. There was a time when there were, between these languages, there were plenty of translators, who could speak both languages, and they were taking works from one language to the other. And now you see that number is really coming down, and there are very few people who can do this effectively. And you can, if you just map this, you will know what this has done to our culture and literature. I think we close it here, and thank you very much, and thank you all. Yeah.
Thank you for that insightful